Aujourd'hui, today, I would like to speak to you about decision making. And as a software engineer, it doesn't matter if you are a junior, mid-level, senior, lead, director of engineering, CTO, you have to make good decisions. And it's not only about what you believe is true, but it's also about the company. If you see that the users or the budget or the company in a whole is suffering, you have to take the right decision in hiring, in let some people go if you believe it's better for the culture of the company, for the environment, for so many things, so many factors. And sometimes it's very hard to make the right decision. The same when we hire someone, we think, is it really a good fit? That person seems knowledgeable, but it's not enough. And indeed, making the right decision, we would love to be as easy as that. Oh, I know this is the right decision, but we don't know. Even if we follow our gut feeling, we have no idea. It's not because on paper, it's not because during the interview, everything looks so good, so perfect. Well, it will not necessarily be the case. And also, to keep everybody motivated, it's not easy. And I know, as a CTO, you may believe equity, it's a good thing. And to keep all employees, all of my engineers motivated in the mission of the company, we should do this. But it's not just about you. If someone else, a C-level person, doesn't agree, of course, you don't have much to do. You can try to convince the other people if you really believe this is the right decision to make. And then every week or every other week, you can bring back this. And it's important when we believe something is the right decision to make, you have to do your best to pursue and to have the person understanding why they have to listen to you. Not easy for sure, but at the end of the day, when you are a CTO, it's not about code anymore. It's about also understanding so many different factors. And it does happen that even though everybody believes you are right, it doesn't mean it will happen. Because, it's also about the people on the board of the company, if the company is big, if the company has raised a lot of money. It's about a lot of other people who need to say yes or no to you. So it is true that it's not easy. And even when it feels easy, they will always have situations where it will be tougher than it looks like. So be prepared and have no expectation is the best you can do. Because once you have more expectation, once you have, you believe it will happen, and for you are so sure, you will be disappointed if it's not the case. So it's important to know that, no, maybe this will not happen, and I need to be okay with this. So when I speak about equity, for instance, the term can also be ESOP. ESOP, it stands for Employee Stock Option Plan. ESOP, ESOP. And for me, I believe it's the right thing to do for a company if they want to hire really good talent. But now it's not possible to give the same amount of equities to everybody. And even in the long term, not everybody will have it. But if you want to keep your employees longer, well, you will have to. Otherwise, the turnover will be higher. Especially when other employees know that some others, they do have equities, they do have stock option and not you. and you work as hard as the others, at least you believe, well, then it will be hard to compete, and then it's where problems will happen and when lack of motivation will happen. So, as a manager, when you see someone who stays too late or always finishing after the others, it's also, as a manager, for instance, you to see how you can improve his workflow, their workflow, her workflow, building a tool that can improve their work, because it means something is probably not right. And if they do stay too late at work, if you are the manager, well, of course you need free time. I mean, you need enough time for you to deal with all of this, but it's also your obligation and your duty to look after this and to think, that person is always seems to work all the time. Maybe we give too much work for that person, or maybe that person doesn't really understand well the requirements, or maybe it's a motivation problem, or it's the only person from the team that doesn't have equity. Maybe that person knows about it and knows that we didn't give equity only to that person, and of course it feels unfair for that person's point of view. So we have to fix maybe something there, because fairness, it's very important. And when you create a work culture that is not fair, it will have issues and it will not be good for your company. You don't want that. So a good personality as a CTO, for instance, it needs to be intelligently curious. It's a funny word. So like smartly curious, to learn instantly things, to know the market, the demands. And when you know the demand, you know better what kind of employees you need to hire for your team, to see things out of the box, to be open-minded, and to be obsessed on resolving problems. You really have to be obsessed on how can we make it better. Like it needs to be your vision. You need to eat this morning, afternoon, evening, breakfast, lunch, dinner. To be driven by problem solving. That's super important. And when you hire an employee, actually, like I hired a lot of software engineers and I have interviewed so many. And one question I really like is that instead of asking what are your salary expectations, because of course salary is important, if instead we do ask how much do we need to pay you for you to be motivated, for you to be super motivated and to be driven by what we do, how much do we need to pay you for, and not a salary expectation? Because that way it gives a more transparent answer for the longer term for the employee. As a software engineer, it requires a lot of motivation to be also to keep yourself updated, because everything evolves so quickly that you need to have enough money to be curious and to give that energy to change things, because if you believe it's right, well, to speak to the right people, it requires energy. And if you don't have enough money, you would just think, it doesn't matter. I don't ask it. I don't do it. And then it will be bad for the company. It will impact badly the company. So that's why also money. Yeah, it is important. Something also I love as a question is when during the first interview, usually to ask, if I were your manager, what thing I should know about you to make sure you are performing at your best? And indeed, when you ask this, if I were your manager, what thing I should know about you, about yourself, to make sure that you are performing at your best? Maybe now you feel bored, and I don't know that, so I need to know what will make you always the best. And when we feel like our motivation is not there anymore, we don't feel fulfilled, well, then is where you cannot give 100% of your energy to the company anymore, and it makes, like, it decreases, it impacts your motivation, and it will impact also the company. A manager is, before and after all, I would say a work coach. So it's a coach for work. Someone who inspires, very important, who inspires the team to be better each day. And when the manager, when the leader doesn't inspire the team for the team to be better each day, it means it's probably not a good manager. Because while you are doing your job, you also have to make sure that all of the people under you are inspired by you and they enjoy their time at work. Super important. And it's something we tend to forget too often, but it's extremely important. As a CTO or even CEO of a company, for each new employee coming to the engineering team, so that means when we move them or when we hire a new person, well, an excellent ritual is to implement in the company, in the onboarding culture, is to have a coffee on the following Friday. So that means you hire someone, the following Friday, the CTO or the CEO will have, or both of them will have a Friday coffee where they will meet the new joiner, the new starter. And so it will give a chance to learn more as a one-to-one, 101, about the person while we are having a good time and to feel closer as well. And so the new joiner, the new starter can know that, yeah, this company is actually human. I'm not just a number. The CTO, the CEO took his time, their time, her time to spend like 20 minutes on a 101, and that's very valuable. And it should be an integral part of the culture of the company. It shouldn't be more than 20 minutes, but it's very good, and for you it's very good to have a chance to catch up with any new people coming to your company. Otherwise you don't know them. You just know their name and that's it. You don't know what they like, their hobbies, what they don't like, And that way you will be better at running the company. So yeah, extremely important. So, when you are writing code, it's just a way to build something for the outcome. So, in French, I say, le code informatique est un moyen au service d'une fin. It means, and maybe I can actually try to translate it for you. It means that the programming code, well, let's see what the translation says. Computer code is a mean that to an end. So that means it's like you are just using the code to build the final product, what you are building for. So, of course, it's important to write good code, but also it's more important to understand the needs of the company. And if you don't understand what the company needs, it's very hard, because then you will never know where you have to focus. To be a good CTO, you need to know the clear picture, the vision of the company, as the technology, like how they use the technology, how they use the stack for the company, because that will change the demand. That will change, depending on the vision of the company, how you will hire, what you will do, all of the decisions you will take will not be the same. It depends really on the vision of the company. If they want to sell quickly, or maybe the opposite, they don't want to sell, and what you have to focus on will be very different. So for instance, like I said, if the goal of the company is for the board to sell the company, the technology used, the stack and whatsoever won't be the same and won't be as important, not necessarily as important as if the goal was to scale quickly and keep it private as an independent company. That will be really different. So communication is crucial as any C-level people and across any C-level people. So that's very across any C-level people. As a CTO, it's also very important to spend time with the end user. So the end user is like you or me using the service. Like I'm using Busuu. It's a language app to learn any languages. I need to use it. I need to speak to the users. Otherwise, it will be very understand to know the real needs of the company. Once again, it's very important, very crucial. Always be happy and cheerful. It changes the whole team and the mood. That's also something you have to learn. Just one bad day can impact employees for months. And we don't necessarily see the impact until it happens. Like one bad day, yeah, it's not good. And so like a CEO, a CTO, if they don't look happy, if they look stressed, the people will feel it. And so they will feel, oh, maybe something is bad, something is wrong. And then you have some rumors. And then people say, no, don't have rumors. Well, we don't want rumors, but if there are rumors, it means there's a reason why a rumor started. So you don't even want the rumor to start. Instead of saying stop having rumors, well, no, if there are rumors, there's probably a reason behind it. And transparency is so crucial. Doesn't matter the size of the company. Too many companies don't have any transparencies and they make changes and no one knew before, and then it's really bad for the reputation and for the happiness of entire teams. So yeah, that's so crucial. And finally, it's also important to prioritize what's really the end goal, what's really important for the company. Because shipping, yes, but also say what you do and understand the priorities of the company, even though they don't say the priority explicitly. Because again, some people have more ease to communicate than others. Some people don't really know what they want or what it's needed. And when you see what's the real need, you have to go for it. You have to go for that one, for that project. And it's not easy. It's also about decryption of, what you really have to understand and what it's been said. Yeah, it can be tricky because what people say and what people do is different. And what people want, it's also different. So yeah, it is also important to value employees as a team member and not just as a hired gun, because everybody is valuable and everybody will contribute to the culture of the company. And you want only plus additions and you don't want minuses, because then it will reduce the impact of the culture. And once again, if you hire people like a hire gun and then you just dispose them if they're redundant, no, it doesn't work that way if you plan to see the long term, the future. Very important to focus your energy and on all of the skills. So basically, great essential skills for a CEO, for a CTO, is to know how to manage your ego. Extremely important. How to have a touch of humility, yeah. Humility, I like that word. To be extremely driven and to show you enthusiasm about the product. To use it. I had many experiences in the past where no one in my company was using the product my team was building. And the C-level people were not using it. And it doesn't feel good because they make decisions on the team, but they don't want to understand the product we are building because they don't even use it. So how can they make decisions if they don't even use the product? See, that's a huge gap. And people feel it, and then, of course, the motivation is dropping. So think out of the box. We say it again and again, but it's still important. Not doing like everybody does. Your company is different too. To speak a different language, specifically of your company. A good culture is a bit like a cult. Like a cult is their own language, they own its own family, Know what you do, what your people do, and understanding why everybody does that way. You also have to go to, if your company has different floors, different levels, it happens for big companies, you have to go to all levels. You cannot understand otherwise, things you don't see. And you have to sit at a desk every day, different desk, and to look how the people of your team behave and other teams. Because it's not what your other managers are reporting to you that is necessarily the truth. Of course, like some teams will pretend to be better than what they are, and you don't know if there's a problem until you are really in the team. So be like undercover, it's easy to understand the real problems, because usually you have the manager of each team that would report to the CEO or another C-level, a chapter lead, and then the chapter lead will report to another person, and then that person to the CEO. But is it really like, this is just how people perceive what happens in the team? Like, you don't really know until you are really undercover, because it's hard to know what's wrong, what works. Have a reputation. It's important to work on your reputation and to know what you want, where you want your company to be. So every day you have to work on that. Every day improve the company, improve the duty, and you will get there step by step, and it will make your life better. Believe me. I will make probably another video. I will improve in the upcoming weeks. I will also try a few things I want to implement in my job, and so I will be able to tell you more, because it's quite complex actually. Like, managing people, it's super complex. Being a good manager is super hard because everybody is different, and what people will tell you will not be the truth. Because again, you also want to keep your job, and if you see something doesn't work, you don't want to be too direct, especially in a more corporate company. Like in a startup, usually people are more okay with that. It's very flat. But when it's not flat, it's harder. Working with AI is super good, but now you also have to remember that bad code base doesn't attract good developers, not necessarily, even not at all, or the technology you use. It's a vicious cycle, my bad. It's a vicious cycle where bad code base gets worse and worse because companies who are owners of bad code bases can't hire better developers to work on, and so they will hire worse developers, and then it will never be improved because good developers don't want to work with good code base, and so they will only hire not as good as developers they should, and the code base will never get better. And so that's why it's a vicious cycle. So you also have to keep that in mind. It's very important. So I hope this little preview, how to be a good manager, how to be a good CTO, helped you. And I will make a more in-depth video in the future where I will go really further in more technical areas. And I wish you a happy day. If it's Friday, like for me today for me, it's Friday, 8 p.m., 8:04. And I wish you a beautiful Friday or a beautiful Monday, doesn't matter. Again, to me, that's also very important. A Monday should be like a Friday. And if it's not the case, what can you change in your life? Even though the work, maybe you don't really like your company right now, you can always improve the way you perceive the work. And if you don't like it, you can also do your best to change to make it better, to make the workplace enjoyable. Don't blame others. We are the response. Like, we are responsible of everything. So it's important to be part of that journey and to take full responsibility of what happens.